going on, Wizard Gang? Prue the Wizard here, and today we're going to be taking a look at an indie action roguelite RPG, Hollimento. As stated, Holomento is an action roguelite with RPG elements. After picking one of 6 total starting classes, you are tasked with exploring this beautiful world filled with dangerous enemies, powerful items, unique locations, and more. Holomento takes the phrase, journey, not destination, directly to heart, inciting the player to explore every area and take their time doing so. This unique concept is a perfect foundation for the many systems at play here. Some will seem familiar, and some will have new original takes on the roguelite genre. The world is vast. That's the best term to describe the world of Hollimento in my opinion. From a sprawling open desert, thick forests, deep dungeons, and much more, each area of the game has its own identity down to the musical themes. It also has unique enemies, unique gear to that specific location, just things to make it stand out from the other areas. The music, by the way, does a lot to help build the wonder of exploring or the hype of a big fight, or just kind of, going through a town which has their own musical themes as well. But Adlib is the artist responsible for that, so please go show them some love. They're on YouTube, Spotify, Bandcamp, all of the streaming services, so please go listen to his stuff. He does covers and original compositions, really good. Scattered throughout the world are camps and towns. Here you can gear up, fast travel, and more we will get into later. Backtracking to exploration, this game heavily rewards curious players, whether it be a minigame for fishing, mining for raw materials, or tucked away legendary items, or just a straight up chest with okay loot. This is a roguelite at its core after all, so we need some RNG thrown in there. Again, when you enter a new area, it's immediately obvious with nearly every element conforming to its respected aesthetic. All in all, the world feels super vibrant and super alive with different NPCs to interact with and puzzles to solve to unlock items or different pathways for future runs to make it easier for you. This game offers a lot and, like I said, heavily rewards curious players and exploration, inciting you to take your time. and really take in all the sights and sounds that this game has to offer. And the visuals I'm giving you guys are pretty surface level. I don't want to give too much away, but there is so much going on here. There's so much to explore and do in each area respectively. Like, I'm not even showing, I think, 2 or 3 more areas that are in here at the moment. So, like I said, tons to explore, tons to see, tons to do. Speaking of which, getting around can be pretty easy, but you'll also run into some opposition here and there. As for the combat, I would define it as having total freedom in however you want to approach it. The combat at its core is super satisfying. It's reminiscent of Dark Souls in the sense that once you learn an enemy's habits and attack patterns, you try to bait out that attack and go in for as much damage as possible. Melee combat feels snappy, very responsive, with a rhythm-based mechanic that allows for more damage dealt and an overall good feedback when in melee combat. As for ranged, with the right build, you can become a god, throwing magic missiles and fire strikes infused with chain lightning, or sniping enemies from halfway across the area with an insane rifle build. So, that might be the most fun way to play right now, but don't sleep on the melee. Each weapon has a unique feel, which personally I'm a big fan of. Instead of constantly swapping weapons like in some other roguelites, if you like this particular one, and you're really vibing with it, then you can keep it and still have it be viable. Each weapon has a melee and a ranged attack though, but generally they excel at one or the other. For example, a bow is going to be a lot better at range than a sword would, for example. Combat and your gear are enhanced by picking up items that provide passive bonuses or skills that you then start to build up over the course of your journey, similar to Risk of Rain 2. The boss fights in particular are super fun as well. Now you can absolutely just sort of follow what your starting class is, like for example I picked the Knight here, very melee based and very tanky, you know, a lot of damage resistance. So I went with a spear and shield combo, helps protect me from the front while also giving me some pretty good range in melee and in ranged combat. So you can sort of build it however you like around whatever weapon you like, and even with your starting class, that doesn't really matter as long as you get some really good items that you can build around, which is what I was talking about earlier. It allows for total freedom in how you approach these combat situations, depending on if you have the right build for your playstyle. Looking at you, Hogwarts Legacy. But, jokes aside, I really do enjoy the combat here and how the encounters just sort of pop up when you're exploring throughout the world, or you walk into an arena and it's a mini-boss for that respective area. It all just feels really awesome. I mean, if you couldn't already tell by now, this game is absolutely gorgeous. It just oozes charm and style at nearly every turn. Nothing really more to say about that here. You've got two types of progression going on here. For the meta progression, you have shops within each town that can be upgraded using raw materials gathered by defeating enemies, exploring, etc. The shops will not only cosmetically change over time, but will function better with every upgrade. Having more items, the items will be better quality, and there will just be more of them in general. There's also the banking system, which I find really interesting. You can store money here in between runs, and you can access all of it, which is really cool. Kind of helps you get off your feet pretty early on in fresh runs, where you just go right to the bank, take out a few thousand, get some good items from that particular town, and then go out. So it really helps with that progression, making it easier over time to just hop into a new run and get powerful right off the bat. Now, as a roguelite, dying has its own mechanic, of course. You can choose to end the journey right then and there, or revive at the closest camp that you discovered on your journey, after which you can go back to the spot where you met your demise and retrieve the rest of your items. Very simple, but unless you play on a higher difficulty, you can pretty much reliably keep a run going as long as you want. But getting back to those items later in your run when the enemies are super tough and you lose, I think, half of your items upon death, it can get pretty challenging. So sometimes you might just have to cut your losses or risk it for the biscuit. And upgrading these shops is a huge benefit, simply because you get the higher quality items and you get more of them. You just have more options to see what kind of playstyle or build you want to do for that run, and you can decide that pretty early on with the banking system as well. The other type of progression is the character power progression or power scaling, which mostly consists of the items you pick up that give you the passive buffs and or abilities like I mentioned briefly before. Enemies will get stronger over time, but so will you and your gear. Your gear goes from level 1 to level 5. I think you start off at level 2, but if you wanted to pick up a new piece of gear that is only level 1, you'd have to level that up. And it will statistically change and cosmetically change as well. Items can be combined to make all sorts of powerful synergies that make you feel unstoppable. Like I mentioned before with the Chain Lightning, I got that item and a couple of others that just made my ranged combat excel, and my melee combat put out tons of damage as well, because I had a movement speed upgrade and just an overall damage buff, and I was just feeling crazy about 45 minutes to an hour in. And this is on a save that I've already been playing on, so I sort of was able to get some good items right off rip and stuff. But man, you just start to feel so powerful, and then you could feel like you go and run around and kill everything, but then something will humble you very, very fast, and then you'll end up either dying or having to back off, and this game will still surprise you here and there with that, even though you can feel so powerful at a certain point. What I enjoy most about the progression in this game is how it visually reflects it back at the player actively. Whether that be the towns or your gear, I just really like that sort of visual feedback a lot. The story is told through the environment, item descriptions, and NPC dialogue mostly. And the lore is absolutely there. It mixes modern tech with ancient magic and, well, swords and bows too. All while retaining its unique visual style, Holomento manages to have a consistent aesthetic while blending various eras of time and bits of folklore, all while retaining its own universe's history. Hollimento holds nothing back, letting you explore, fight, and rebuild however you want. This is your journey, this is how you rebuild the world. This journey takes you through multiple areas in the Hollow, allowing for a different experience each journey. There's also the relics, which are sort of little Easter eggs, I guess you can call them, scattered around the world that once you turn them into this museum, you get passive bonuses that apply throughout all of your runs, but you can go into the museum and then see those relics like physically, which is really cool too. Although it's still in development, each character is just super interesting to me, like all the named ones. I really enjoy like talking to them and asking every available question and just kind of seeing like their surrounding areas. I really cannot wait for the full release of this game and to see it fully fleshed out. There's just so much going on here with the characters and the world, and the more you explore, the more you sort of put things together here and there, but you kind of have to read the item descriptions and talk to all the NPCs to kind of get the true vision of what's going on here. But it's just a joy to explore and a joy to like walk around and be in and actively contribute to. Here's some footage of the first dungeon. I'm just going to kind of let it play out for some raw gameplay. This is the first major boss fight, so nothing major spoiler going on here. This is something that you'll encounter within the first couple runs. I'm just showing off some of the gear here at the end of my run. I didn't get everything up to level 5, but I got some really good items, and just wanted to show you guys what happens at the end of a run. But all in all, if you're someone who's looking for a good roguelite and can look past some in-development issues, I think that this game is for sure worth your time. And I just have to take a minute to shout out Sean and the rest of the development team over at the Discord. They've been super helpful, super responsive, and they put out a major update like every 3 months or so, and in between that they always like address the smaller issues. So that has to be commended, especially from an indie development team. So again, shout out Sean and the rest of the development team and the community over at the Discord. I found out about this game, I think around last summer, and I've put almost about 100 hours into it now, and there's just another major update around the corner actually that'll update one of the towns and just revamp like a bunch of stuff, add a bunch of new items. So I think the passion and the hard work absolutely needs to be commended here, and again, I think if you buy this game you will not be disappointed. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment, let me know what you liked about it, and in the future I'll be covering another movie. Hopefully I'll have enough footage for another Overwatch video soon. I gotta say though, I'm kind of losing my temperament with that game. I've been picking up Rainbow Six Siege again, so you might see a video on that, who knows. But thanks again for watching, and take it easy.